that's what won the game for the Chiefs, namely Chris Jones, who I believe had 8 pressures in the first half. You know, when old Josh Allen came out the first series, is because Chris Jones was wreaking havoc. And that dude is going to be item number 1 for the Eagles.
Chris Jones has been one of the longest serving and most critical pieces of this Chiefs dynasty, consistently changing the game on the defensive side of the ball for them. You see, and as they're in the hunt for their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl now, it's kind of hard to remember that it hasn't always been just a happy marriage between the Chiefs and Chris Jones. With him being just kind of heavily just underrated throughout his career and just all the things that have gone on with him on the Chiefs, that I figured we'd grab our coffee and we'd go for a walk today and we'd talk about Chris Jones. While playing much of his career as an interior defensive lineman has kept his box score modest in comparison to his actual impact on the game, his peers in the league, especially those who have played against him on multiple occasions, have always been aware of how good Chris Jones is. And in today's video, we're going to look at different times that players, coaches, and even analysts tried to talk about Chris Jones. And at the end of the video, we'll even reveal what Hall of Fame defensive lineman Warren Sapp thinks about Chris Jones, because this is what NFL players actually think about Chris Jones. I mean, yeah, while he was a late bloomer coming out of high school in 2013, he would get the chance to represent his hometown of Mississippi by committing to the Mississippi State Bulldogs in 2013. Now, he followed a strong freshman season with a sophomore slump, needing to prove himself ahead of his junior year. After a marquee performance against Missouri, his college coach Dan Mullen praised the hometown hero.
Yeah, I gotta watch the film, but I mean, to me, I felt his presence out there on the field. And thought he really played what could be one of the best games he's played so far. You know, which is great to see as him. You know, I mean, really, as he gets into the season again, playing much better than you do and continue to develop and improve.
Do you think this is a game that Chris can build off of for the rest of the season?
I certainly hope so. You know, I certainly expect that of him. You know, I mean, I think he's got, you know, I think he'll watch and he's got potential. He's going to look and say, hey, these are things. When I'm playing, I can make things happen out there in the field, and I got to go play. You know, if he wants to be an all-SEC type player, you got to go show that every single week.
And while he wasn't named all-SEC, Jones decided to declare for the 2016 NFL Draft, where the Kansas City Chiefs selected him 37th overall with a pick they acquired by trading out of the first round entirely. GM John Dorsey justified the decision, explaining the potential he did see in the Mississippi State defensive lineman.
Wingspan, former basketball player. The guy is, as you alluded to, a physical specimen. Is he an inside player, an outside player? And is he a 3-down player? Can he play all 3 downs?
That's the great thing. He's versatile. He can play 5, 3, maybe even as big as he is, maybe he'll play a little bit of nose tackle there. But what as good as it gives us is some more depth, rotational depth. And, you know, getting a couple snaps here and there during the game, growing within that role. Once you learn your techniques and you get those downs, that begins to spell the older guys a little bit. I think he'll fit right in, he'll flourish.
I mean, yeah, Dorsey was right. By using him all across the defensive line, he's been instrumental in the Chiefs' recent success. I mean, also, and just by virtue of being moved around so much on the defensive line, he can't put up the same stats of like a Myles Garrett who's locked in at defensive end. But I mean, that hasn't stopped Chris Jones either from making 6 consecutive Pro Bowls. And on top of that too, he's also been able to make 5 consecutive first-team All-Pros. Like, I mean, what the dude is doing is just absolutely insane at the defensive tackle spot. And I mean, it's not even the fact that he can only play defensive tackle. He can play anywhere on the defensive line, wherever they think he has the best matchup, which is just absolutely unfair to any front 5. It has, however, affected how many view his legacy. Hall of Fame defensive tackle Warren Sapp has openly been critical of Jones's production.
Chris Jones has
you better get some other questions,
two seasons with 15 and a half sacks, or two seasons with 15 and a half sacks. Defensive tackle.
Okay. So what about the 4-sack season and the 3-sack season? Just gonna throw those away? You know, those bring down those averages real fast, right? how many years did
He's
it
only
get to
had
75?
No.
Year 9? Year 8, 9?
His rookie year, he had 2 sacks. His rookie year, he had 2 sacks. His worst season, other than that, in what, 7 other seasons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 seasons.
8.
His worst year is 2. Every other year, 6.5 is his lowest.
Keep working. Get you a defensive player of the year. Keep working.
And while this also is a take shared by many box score watchers on social media, plenty of important figures in the NFL have come to Jones' defense. His own defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, explained his value outside of the numbers.
What he brings, Chris, and you're right about, he may not have the stats that he had last year, but I'm sure you watch the tape and see how much attention is paid to him. And that has opened up things for other guys. You bring up Mike and George and, Charles when he's in there. And so when you have a player like that and he demands attention, whether it's 2 or 3 guys that they commit to him, or the center's always going to turn that way, that helps us in things that we can do to try to expose the protection. And, he makes us a better defense because, just like you noted, because of the pressures he gets. It may not finish off in a stat with a sack, but people certainly recognize when he's there, and hopefully that can open up some things for some other guys.
2-time All-Pro corner Trent McDuffie, who's one of the major beneficiaries of Jones opening up opposing offenses, echoed the sentiment in a press conference as well.
I mean, when you got a guy like Chris Jones, I can speak from personal experience as far as like the nickel. Teams always look at him. They're always sending the line his way. They're always trying to get 2 guys on him. He's a factor, run game, pass game. So, he's always going to account for 2 guys. So it leaves a lot of open holes for other guys to make plays, and also leaves chances for kind of like the end of the game when you've seen the whole line slide toward Chris and Shamar came free on the blitz. Little stuff like that stats don't show and people don't always talk about, but it's so huge when it comes to the whole team and the 11 out there, just being able to just take pressure off other guys that they can make plays.
Chris Jones' ability to draw the lion's share of attention from offensive lines has made often the difference late in the season for the Chiefs defense. A former cornerback in Jason Bell also harped on that in a preview for the 2022 AFC Championship game.
We understand there is an offensive line issue for the Bengals. Have we forgotten about this because of one game? Do you know who Chris Jones is? Yeah. Do you know how he can take over a game? He is maybe the best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. No longer playing on the outside, he is in the inside. He is going to try to wreck shop. Where does Joey Burrow want to step up? In the middle, down the lanes. He's not scrambling out, he wants to step up and throw. He is going to cause havoc. But I'm telling you right now, Patrick Mahomes, I don't know why I'm so fearful, but I think he's going to look like he's miraculously recovered for this game. But the main battle is Chris Jones up front against that offensive line. It's not going to be a good day for them.
This problem for offensive lines has persisted into the following year's playoffs as well, with James Jones, a veteran NFL wide receiver, laying out the 49ers' trouble with accounting for his presence in the trenches as the game-deciding factor in Super Bowl 58.
Jones, who blocking him? Chris Jones. I hear a lot of people say the Niners' offensive line is good. No, it's not. Trent good. The Niners' offensive line ain't good. That's true. And you know who Trent ain't blocking? 95. Yep. Because he in the middle of the defense, right? He at that D tackle. He not coming off the edge like Michael Parsons and them boys. So the pocket is about to get collapsed. I think Chris Jones is unblockable. The Niners are going to have trouble blocking Chris Jones, and I think he has an opportunity to wreck this football game on the defensive side of the football, and he is going to be a problem for the 49ers. I got my man Chris Jones.
And that's the thing too, is don't just take it from TV anchors either. Take it from actual people who have played against Chris Jones. Trent Williams, who actually has to play against him in the Super Bowl II, has said this about Chris Jones.
He's a dominant force. He's a hell of a player. He's one of the best in the league, if not the best. I think he's probably the most disruptive guy in the league. Him and Aaron Donald in the class of their own. So, it's, even if I'm not lined up against him, we got to know where he's at. So it'll definitely be a test.
Knowing where Jones is seems to be a priority whenever a team faces him, as his versatility and elusiveness makes him a nightmare to predict. Justin Herbert, who has to face him twice a year, said this in a press conference about him.
I think one of the great things that they do is they can put him anywhere, whether it's inside, outside. He can rush from so many different spots, and definitely one of those guys that you have to be aware of wherever he's on the field.
Despite all of the silverware that he has helped the Chiefs achieve to get in the 3 Super Bowls that he has won while there, he still had to hold out of the 2023 season, I think is what it was. And it didn't matter because he even had some players that were trying to come and literally beg for him to end his holdout and come play. Listen to what Travis Kelce has to say when he's begging for Chris Jones to come back.
Oh man, Chris, can you please come back? You're really scaring me, man. I don't get it. You must know something that I don't know, because I just don't get it. I really want to get another Super Bowl ring with you, brother. This is me bargaining you to just come back and play football for the Chiefs. Please, we need you. He's the best defensive player in the league right now, and he's deserving of all the money in the world. Chris, I love you. Please come back.
Meanwhile, one of his former teammates, Tyreek Hill, commended Jones for standing up to the organization by even sitting out the 2023 season opener.
Chris Jones' story is crazy, though. I seen a lot of people criticizing my dog, saying, why is he at the game and not on the sideline? What are your thoughts on that? You give your thoughts and I'm going to give my thoughts.
I look at it as you got to know your role. You know you got to have your captains. You know you got to have your people who are going to follow that person. I think that was a prime example of his leadership. He could have stayed at home and just been like, the hell with it. I'll watch on the TV.
That takes a lot for a player to actually walk through a lot of people, get to that suite, and they're looking like, how long? You got a game. Why are you up here with us? That takes a lot. That takes a lot of courage, bro, because somebody going to say something slick and it's going to be like, hey, bro, I'm up here because we ain't got our situation figured out. You feel me? So I'm with you on that, bro. I'm like, Chris Jones, you did everything that you needed to do. You know your value, my boy. And he with the Chiefs thick and thin. I'm just glad that they finally got my boy a deal done. I still don't understand the deal, which is crazy, but it looked like a very incentivized deal.
With the pressure mounting to find an agreement, Chiefs GM Brett Veach tried to quell fans' concerns that they'd lose one of the greatest ever playmakers, insisting they were making progress on a deal. The mutual love and respect showed as they agreed to a one-year deal, which helped them to a second consecutive Super Bowl before signing Jones to a $158 million deal over the next 5 years. It seems like Mahomes might have known it was coming based on his reaction to hoisting the Lombardi Trophy in Vegas.
Hey, bro, you ain't going nowhere, I promise you.
Hey, I told you.
Hey, we're not done, dog. I want 3.
We got to get 3.
3. No one's ever got 3. 3. No one's ever got 3. I know.
It should come as good news too to Chiefs fans that he'll be sticking around with them for long, with some of the young blood in the locker room resonating with Jones's style of leadership.
But to speak specifically about Chris, he's been amazing, not just for me, but for the room. Just on the field is one thing, but off the field with the leadership and the knowledge that he brings to the room, it's been amazing.
And he leads by example, with head coach Andy Reid praising Jones's mammoth effort to clinch an overtime victory in last year's Super Bowl.
Chris Jones pushed himself past the point where I think he thought he could push himself. And I was so proud of him for that. When we went into overtime, he was exhausted. And he had just worked so hard during the game and had a lot of snaps. But he took himself to that next level. And he was on the sideline at the time, and he was bent over, and I said, hey, you got a minute 52 seconds. Let's go. You can do it for a minute 52 seconds. You need to get out there. And he did. He dashed out there. This is a seasoned veteran guy. He dashed out there and went after it and had a huge third down play for it. Listen, I was so happy for him. He's a guy that's been here a long time. I'm close to the kid, and I was so proud of him for doing that, just taking it and kind of reaching in there, Rich, into that no man's area there that you hate going to, but you got to do it in professional sports. And he went there.
A 30-year-old Jones hasn't slowed down in the 2024 postseason either, proving crucial in KC's third consecutive AFC title win. Chris Long broke down Jones's influence in the game against Buffalo on the Rich Eisen Show.
But that's what won the game for the Chiefs. Those guys in the middle, namely Chris Jones, who I believe had 8 pressures in the first half. When old Josh Allen came out the first series, is because Chris Jones was wreaking havoc. And that dude is going to be item number 1 for the Eagles.
Truthfully, regardless of whether or not the Chiefs complete the three-peat, Chris Jones has already established himself as a club legend in Kansas City. From an up-and-down college career to fighting off lazy narratives around him in order to become one of the NFL's most dominant defensive tackles of the last decade, Jones has showed up for his team at every time of asking. And if you want to see why Patrick Mahomes is a serious problem for the NFL, then click the video right above my mug.